everything is set up. Yes. And I need to go here to the right. Yeah, no, I'll go back down. And then I'm in an entirely different world. Yeah, I'll just move like this. There's nothing to see here though. There we go. This one is useless. Ring Earth. Cool. Inside forest. That's why I like to call a tree army. That cannot grow anymore. Is that the game? What? No, I want my tree army. Yes, the sound. Like that. Gotta go fast.
Because life is basically a game of hide and seek. Because life is pulsation. On and off. Here it is, and now it isn't. And by being this pulsation, we know it's there. Now, from those very tiny fast rhythms, which give us the impression of continuity, there are also in this universe immensely slow rhythms. And these are very difficult to keep track of. And they impress us and depress us as our own life and death, as our coming and going, which goes for what is to us such a slow pace that we can't possibly believe that it is really a rhythm. We think of it as our birth, as something quite unique that could never occur again because we're so close to it and it's moving so slowly.
Blackberry is so black. The blackberry. Or they're scared of the wolves. Chimpanzee. I'm going for that one.
The process of growth, the basic process of biology, is one in which lower orders are always being superseded by higher orders. The lower order can never figure out, or only very rarely figure out, what the higher order is that's taking over. And may see it as a terrible threat, as total disaster, as the very end. But can never be aware that the principle of growth always has and always will continue. Because that's what's going on. But you never know what the next step is going to be. Because if you did know, you wouldn't take it. Because it would already be past. Do you understand this? At any certainly known future, is an event of which we can say you've had it. And in that sense it's past. When we play a game, the outcome of the game becomes certain. We at that point cancel the game and begin a new one. Because the whole zest of the thing, which takes me back to the idea that this whole thing is a hide and seek game, is that you don't know what the next order coming up is.
Bro, there's so much of this. I have so much of this, can't even go anymore. Yeah. You travel so slowly. Is that a dinosaur? Oh no. Dung beetle. Stag beetle. Wait a minute. More beef.
We have this rather myopic way of looking at things. And we screen out from attention anything that is not immediately important to a scanning system based on sensing danger. But quite obviously, you as a complete individual are much more than the scanning system. You are in relationships with the external world that on the whole are incredibly harmonious. The energies of life in the form of temperature, light, air, and food, and so on, are streaming through you all at this moment in the most magnificently harmonious way. When anything is constant, it says, okay, that's safe, it's in the bag, needn't pay attention to that anymore. Therefore, we eliminate systematically from our awareness all the gorgeous things that are going on all the time, and instead only become focused on the things, the troublesome things that might happen to upset us. Which is all right, but we make too much of it. We make so much of it that we identify our very selves, I, ego, with the radar, with the troubleshooter. And that's only a tiny fragment of one's total being.
You find those butterflies. Ah. Whatever.
You will very soon realize that your existence is not something that is just the hopeless little creature that's suddenly confronted with a great big external world that goes gah at him, you know, and eats him up. Every tiniest little thing that comes into being, every minute little fruit fly or gnat or bacterium, I will go so far as to say is an event upon which this whole cosmos depends. This thing goes both ways. It's not only that every little organism which exists depends on its total environment. The reverse is also true, that the total environment depends on each and every one of those little organisms. So that you could say this universe consists of an arrangement of patterns in which every event is essential to the whole thing. Now, we screen that idea out of our consciousness in exactly the same way that we screen out the perception of space as an important reality. Just as we pay attention to the figure and ignore the background, so we see one way of looking at things, namely that the organism is very frail against the environment. It lasts a long time, the environment, but the organism only lasts a short time. What do you mean the environment lasts a long time? What does the environment consist of? Just a lot of little things. When you get far enough away from all the organisms and the little bits of things, you see the environment in another scale of magnification. But actually, the whole thing is arranged in a polar system where the enormous depends on the tiny and the tiny depends on the enormous. And you get a relationship between these extremes which can be called a transaction. They always go together. So in this way, we are always, as it were, overemphasizing a certain aspect of our experience.
comes the super laggy stuff. Oops, I just skipped past that thought. Gosh. I forgot how bad it was. Ooh, speech bubble. My frame rate. I need that.
We say now, what is important about people is their unique individuality. And we have been given an immense psychic investment in our own individuality by our upbringing. What are you going to amount? What are you going to contribute to human life? What's your particular destiny going to be? It's a fine idea. Don't understand that it won't work, this great idea, without being balanced with its opposite. Just as you can't have the back without the front. So you cannot have the values of a unique personality unless at the same time everybody recognizes that there is another level at which we are not unique at all, but that I am you and you are I. See, every one of you feels that you're the center of the universe. And that everything else around you in a circle, you can turn around and you can see sort of equally far in all directions, especially if you're in a ship in the middle of the ocean. So you're in the middle. And it's true from the standpoint of astronomy. We live in a curved space-time continuum. That is to say, in a universe at which every point may be regarded as the center. consider a sphere. Here's a ball. What point on this ball is the center of its surface? You can see at once that any point can be the center of its surface. So legit. All points in the universe are the center.
Here we go. Masala. Open space probe, which means this is a space probe. An airplane. Why did I think that was an airplane? Now I'm a sand. Now I'm a sand. Now I'm your mom. Me and me plan. Stop running. Ooh.
We are all like the nerve ends on your own skin. See, at every point on your skin, there's a little nerve end going and getting information from the outside world. Another and another and another, all over. And they all constitute your total sensitivity. So in the same way, and all these people sitting around here, with their little eyes and little ears and things, they're going beak. And they're all really one common center called I, which is looking at itself from ever so many different points of view. Only, we are so close to it, and we are so absorbed in the different ways each one of them is doing, that we neglect the community underneath. But we don't realize, you see, that just as we know how to do this, we know equally well how to turn the sun into light, how to blue the sky, how to blow the wind, how to wave the ocean, how to digest food, and I might add, to be digested and transformed. But the pattern keeps going, and it's always you. Only you see, you have this marvelous capacity to transform yourself without knowing that you're doing it. Therefore, you keep surprising yourself, and therefore you keep on doing it. Because if you didn't surprise yourself, you wouldn't go on doing it. It's just the very fact, you see, that you seem to be the victims of a thing you don't understand, and that you seem to conclude your life every time in a wipeout called death, where all your control goes, is just exactly that opposite condition to what you call being alive, that allows you to be alive.
I like the boat better. I feel faster. Oh. What is this? I never. Look at that. Boots in a hat. I'm an alpaca. I be rolling. Flying fish. Yeah.
One of the first things which everybody should understand is that every creature in the universe that is in any way sensitive and in any manner of speaking conscious regards itself as a human being. That is to say, it knows and is aware of a hierarchy of beings above it and a hierarchy of beings below it. If you take such a tiny creature as a fruit fly, which lives only a few days, it is aware of all sorts of weird little animals and objects and spores floating in the atmosphere which we don't even notice unless we've got a microscope around. And it criticizes them as being inferior animals and all that sort of thing, whereas human beings are things that it doesn't comprehend. They're as much outside its intellect as a quasar is outside ours.
Polar bear
And
army.
we see these far-off objects floating in the heavens, and we have only the vaguest idea of what they may be. But there is, I think, a fundamental principle that everybody must understand, and that is the principle of relativity. That is to say that wherever you are, and whoever you are, and whatever you are, you're in the middle. That's the game.
The heck is that one? A weapon. I'm legit water. What's that mean? The heck? This is what you call a bird? What is this? What am I, a disease? I could definitely fly though. It's a fish. To make more disease. More disease. Army of disease, go. I like to call this disease army.
When you stand and you can see a horizon all around you to exactly the same distance, you're in the center of a circle because your senses extend a certain direction in all directions and therefore give you the impression of being in the middle. Now, everything in the world feels like that. And also it has its own kind, which look natural to it. You see, spiders and hydras and sea urchins and so on don't look very natural to us. We say, well, I wouldn't want to look like that. But they say when they see us, well, what kind of an awful thing is that? And what a lot of nonsense it does. Because the definition of a person is where you look from. And they, you see, in their situation, feel just as cultured as we can possibly feel. And they have their distinctions and their snobberies, just in the same way that we do. Because you see, they dig all sorts of things that we don't even notice.
A rip-off Corona.
We think a person is cultured because they play the piano or
Corona.
the violin, or they read poetry, or they have a lot of big library and they have paintings all around, and they have a fancy house and so on. And we say, well, there's a person of culture, and we can see at once that this is really some rather elegant human being. But when you get down into the world of fishes, they have exactly the same thing. Only, instead of depending on collecting a lot of books and things like that, it is the precise way, the very subtle wiggles of a tail, the little tremors of vibration that makes one fish a very superior fish as compared with other fish. And all the other fish look at that one and say, oh my, to be like that, what a genius. To be able to do just that little extra thing, see? Because they're very sensitive. Even airplanes in formation can't begin to do what birds and fish can do in their communal swirling dances that they do.
Go to this bigger one. Now I'll send. I'll just head over here to whatever this alien planet, which I don't want to be at. I got a sun. A sun 2 super laggy. There we go. That one looks promising over here. Man, bro, I lost where I was going. Oh dang, I passed that. Okay, I'm gonna grab this and get off.
Here is a very strange thing. That every creature, therefore, which feels that it is human, and which knows that it's there in the same way as you know you're here, experiences being here as constituting a sort of blockage, the sensation of a certain tension which constitutes the feeling of I-ness, of there-ness, of being here. Because after all, every creature is a particular form. Everything is individual. Not only you as a total organism standing here, but all the component cells of your body. Each one of them has some sort of a feeling of its own. And it is individual. You can look at a microscope at the right level of magnification, and you can see that thing there with its own little life. And if you examine the stream of your blood, you'll find it full of all kinds of organisms that are having all sorts of conspiracies and games and plots and eating each other and doing these things that like we do. Only we realize that we wouldn't be healthy as a total organism unless there were all these wars and fights and plots and politics going on between the various cells in our blood. But from their point of view, you see, they feel a little bit put out because they're being organized.
What do you mean, savings prevented?